evening, my colleagues. And I would like to thank first Professor Allam for this opportunity, which is timely done, because now we are watching and seeing and hearing about our heritage in Sudan, about our historic buildings in Khartoum, which has been destroyed. So it is high time to talk about it, and it's high time to show at least some of the our heritage in Sudan. And of course, I really see the opportunity to show some of our archaeological sites or some of our archaeological features, at least to the other audience who do not know about our heritage. So I'm going to talk about how archaeology can support the SDGs. And this is a big topic, and I know that I'm not going to cover it in this 15 or 20 minutes, but I believe that I can give just outlines for what is going on concerning the SDGs. So, and I know that the cultural heritage is under recognized source for sustainable development, which must be leveraged to fully achieve the SDGs. Now, archaeology deals with heritage, which in turn, this heritage supports the environmental quality, education, inclusive economic development, social cohesion, equity, community well-being, and resilience. And this is what I'm going to show in our slides. For sustainability itself, it is one of the 5 pillars of framework for action on cultural heritage, which highlights its potential to enhance social capital, with boost economic growth and secure environmental sustainability. Now in this slide, you can see that we are talking about culture and cultural heritage, which can help to achieve inclusive and sustainable development. In this respect, it is very important to mention that ICOMOS, it is an international council on heritage monuments and heritage and sites, that ICOMOS work for SDG sustainability has started as early as 1964 as the Venice Charter advocated heritage safeguarding for the benefit of future generations. And this focus has increased with 2011 Paris Declaration and the creation of the SDG Working Group in 2015. And all of us know 2015 when the United Nations 2030 agenda was adopted. So it is at the same time. So we know about sustainability as far as archaeological sites and heritage is concerned long time ago. Now, if I want to say how are sustainability and heritage interconnected, though this is implicit relationship, but many sectors and the stakeholders are not aware of these connections. Now, making this connection more explicit so that we can harness cultural heritage resources and its potential to support sustainable development more effective and to accelerate the implementation of the United Nations Agenda 2030. This relation is actually two-way relationship. So there is an effect that sustainable development or development process has on cultural heritage. Now, in this slide, you can see that the advocating of the role of cultural heritage in the SDGs means to help raise the visibility of cultural heritage sustainable development debates. This includes communicating and advocating the role of heritage at global, at national, and local levels of policy and practice, as well as with academia. Now, heritage for example, heritage for climate action, human rights, the SDG working group, all of this, they are really coordinating with each other and reaching such approaches like climate change and heritage. And this at the end created what is called Climate Heritage Network. Of course, there are other groups like emerging professionals, like cultural nature, like journey, like indigenous heritage. All of these together, they foster our diverse and inclusive approach to cultural heritage and to the SDGs. Now, the next slide. Yes, next slide, please. Yes. So the greenest building. I'm showing here an old photo of the University of Khartoum, and no, please go back. What's going on? Go back to the greenest, to number 4. Slide number 4, please.
If it's not this one?
Yes. Yes, I'm here. I'm in this one.
Yeah.
So, no, please. No. Yes, here. Thank you. Now, the greenest building, heritage buildings, can be adaptively reused so conserving their embodied energy and heritage values, which in turn reduces the carbon footprint of the building sector. They can also be upgraded through the additions of renewables. And here we are covering, for example, SDG 7, 8, 11, and 13, and 17. The photo in the middle is showing the building of the main building of the library of the University of Khartoum. We don't know what is going on there. And the one to the, okay, to my left, up there is from a site called Al Khandak. And this is a 2 stories building high. You can see this beautiful decoration on the facade of the building. And the other is a drawing of some buildings in the same area of Al Khandak. This is showing some of our heritage. Now, next slide. If we want to harness heritage for sustainable, next slide, please. Harnessing heritage for sustainable cities and communities based on the close relationship of cultural heritage with urbanization. Yes. ICOMOS, this International Council on Monuments and Sites, they work closely with UCLG, that is United Cities and Local Government, and Culture Committee, their partners in Culture 2030 Goal Campaign, and with United Nations Habitat, collaboration on topics such as urban regeneration and climate change. And here the archaeology and archaeological sites are covering the SDGs 11, 13, and 16. Here are some of the buildings. The one to the left is one of the building built by the British. It was in Kuwait in Eastern Sudan. And the middle one is showing Sawakin before its destruction that goes back to the 70s in the Red Sea port. And here sort of rehabilitation and restoring of one of the buildings in Sawakin to the right. Okay, next. No. Here, next, please. The cultural heritage promotes creativity and productivity. That is important. The cultural heritage of communities contribute to decent jobs based on local cultural products, traditional arts adopted with innovation to contemporary cultural industries. And here I would like to mention the Faculty of Fine Arts at the Sudan University of Science and Technology. The students there, they have been trying their best and experimenting for a long time which type of mud and silt from the Nile that is used to produce the pottery, the fine pottery of Karma culture. Karma culture goes back to 2500 BC. So the heritage can create such jobs and create a sort of entrepreneurship for these students. Again, also tourism, on the other hand, promote intercultural understanding of this livelihood. And here we are covering SDG 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 16. There is another one here. Yes, please, Professor. Yeah, the one next to it. Yeah, next. Now, cultural heritage, yes. Cultural heritage provides well-tested resilience. Here I'm showing some of the archaeological sites. The one on the top is from Karma in Northern Sudan, and to the left is from, no, please back, yes. And to the left is from Bedrawiya. It is a site which has been nominated at the cultural heritage sites, and now it is one of the cultural heritage sites in 2003. Now, it will provide well-tested resilience. The resilience of historic places, this validates the importance of traditional knowledge, quality of historic materials, and enduring nature of the culture. Heritage places are both threatened by climate change and a resource in adaptation and mitigation for it. And here we are covering SDGs 4, 11, and 13. Now, well-maintained heritage is also very important in addressing risk related to natural and human-made disasters, like what we are having today, the war that is going on in Sudan, beside, of course, the environmental effects. Experience has shown how the degradation of natural resources, neglected rural areas, urban sprawl, and poorly engineered new constructions increase the vulnerability of the communities to disaster risk, especially in poorer countries. On the other hand, a well-conserved natural historic environment based on traditional knowledge and skills considerably reduces underlying disaster risk factors, and it strengthens the resilience of the communities and saves the lives. World heritage, for of course, like the one I'm showing now, one of the world heritage in Marawi, is of course also essential to the spiritual well-being of people for its powerful symbolic and aesthetic dimensions. Next, please. Next. Now, cultural heritage empowers vulnerable groups. Protecting the tangible and intangible cultural heritage means protecting associated communities like indigenous people. You can see here to the right, the one who is in the lower slide, is a man in Bajrawiya area who is selling his products and his commodities to the tourists who arrive there. Culture and heritage bring people together, fostering social cohesion and peace for all. At times of crisis, moreover, access to and the care for heritage may help vulnerable people to recover the sense of continuity. This is what we are lacking today. The sense of continuity, the dignity and empowerment. In conflict, like what we have now and post-conflict situations in particular, we have to acknowledge and conserve the heritage. This is based, of course, on shared values and interests and may foster mutual recognition, tolerance, respect among different communities, which is precondition for society's peaceful development. And in this case, we are covering SDGs 10, 11, 14, 15, and 16. Next slide, please. The cultural heritage is a knowledge and education resource. Immeasurable knowledge accumulated over centuries. No back, please. Yes. And transmitted through generations, is involved in heritage sites and communities. So education that draws on cultural context, no, the next please, cultural context of its resources has more impact that empowers us through better understanding. And here we are dealing with 11 and 16 from the SDGs. Now the people, the planet, and their prosperity and the culture where literate exist help people to realize that there is value in other cultures and instill a sense of unity among humankind in general. Next slide, please. Cultural heritage, please, next one. Now, the cultural heritage is a strength in a country. It defines its citizens, the shared identity, and makes the land an attractive place to live, defines our identity. The diversity of heritage also allows regional identities to thrive, supporting human dignity, peace, security, and well-being. The next slide. Yeah, this is showing, this slide showing in the top, it is one of the tombs of the saints of the sheikhs who were really venerated in Sudan, sanctified actually, and it is in Eastern Sudan. They are having these colorful flags on the top of the Imperial. And at the bottom to the left is a scene from one of the periods of the Medwetic that is in Madrawi area that dates back to between 7 and 5 centuries BC. And the one to the left is from Christian period in the Sudan, showing the moral drawings. Okay, next. Next, please. Yes. Then acknowledgement and conservation of the diversity of cultural and natural heritage and the fair access to it and the equitable sharing of the benefits deriving from its use enhance the feeling of place and belonging, mutual respect for others, and the sense of purpose and ability to maintain in common a common good, which contribute to the social cohesion of the community as well as to individual and collective freedom of the choice and action. There is okay. Can you just press one? There is one that should be shown in this slide. I would like to show another side of the country's story, that we are having these dome tombs for the saints, and we believe, yes, we believe in them, and we believe that they can help you even after their death and their yeah. And also I'm showing some of the tombstones showing how people have been also practicing calligraphy and writing, and some of the products like this occlusion picture to the right, which is made out of mud. So it is a pot made out of mud, and in the middle we are having this slate where the students in the Khalwa, that is Quranic school, they study and then they write on these slates to memorize the Quran. So here in this case, we need to understand that we need the cohesion of the community, and we need to acknowledge the existence of everyone in this community. The ability to access and to enjoy and care for one's heritage is essential for what Nobel Prize winner Amartya Sen calls the capability of individuals to live and to be what they choose. That is fundamental component of human development. And with this, we are covering SDG 4, 5, 8, 10, 11, 12, and 16. Now, the last slide, the climate and human adaptation is a major research topic in archaeological theory and practice. So I'm now moving from the sustainable development in heritage to another topic, which involves scientific research. The climate and human adaptation is a major research topic in archaeological theory and practice. And for us in Africa, it is on sub-Saharan areas that has increasing impact, and in particular on vulnerable people. So how do archaeologists contribute to sustainable development goals in this respect? In the other side, we have already talked about the sites and their development and their importance for the local community and for attraction of tourism and all these things. Now we want to know how can we benefit from the past evidence to improve the present, to prepare for the future. One of the things that archaeologists have been dealing with is food security, climate resilient systems. How can we create these climate resilient systems and how we can adapting our own food systems to climate change? What the role, for example, of women in agricultural practice? We know that there were many women practicing cultivation and agriculture. So we also need to elaborate a little bit in indigenous knowledge and technologies and how this could help, especially now in the time of war in Sudan with a shortage in electricity. They should go back to the wheelchair, the sagia, for example. We believe that archaeology provides examples of the past that can increase yield productions. We have been telling our students about different lessons from the past in different parts of the world. How, for example, they have been trying the potatoes in South America in the Maya and Inca areas, and how they have brought new technology to support them in cultivating the potatoes, and how that is failed. And when they get back to the system that had been practiced before, the yields was very much and was amazing. So, and also we need to talk about how to make some areas a hub for producing crops that go beyond political borders. And with this, I mean that we are having research in Eastern Sudan, and we have colleagues in Ethiopia, for example, who are doing some research concerning, for example, sorghum. And if we can create a sort of a hub or part of the centers of excellence in these parts, and then we can at least share together the results of this research, and also we can help in increasing the yield of such crops, which would help the people in their living. Again, some of the stuff we are discussing, the water problems for human use and adaptation to difficult and acute and severe situations. In Sudan, we know that people adaptation to climate in their household organization, and even in the material they are using in the north, for example, and also in the recycling of agricultural residue and the use of palm leaves, for example, for various purposes. And another thing concerning this scientific research is how has archaeology accurately told us about climate change, for example. A lot of research can help in contextualizing current and future climate change. The use of archaeological models to predict the impact of future climate, the change can help us to prepare for climate ahead, not just to look back. We look back and we see what the climate has done for the fall of some civilizations, and then we can get lessons from that. Now, an important thing is that we need to look at the case of the impact of climate change on archaeological sites, on river and desert, on coastal areas. This is for us, for example, in Africa. What have archaeologists discovered about climate change in prehistoric and historic Sudan, for example? So all these are questions that scientists are studying and doing some research about it. And it is showing now how archaeology can help in that respect, besides, of course, many other disciplines, even in medical field. Now, my final remarks is that partnership in action for the goals. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development can only be achieved together in partnerships, multi-actor, multi-sector platform, within and outside these heritage sectors. For example, the UNNG major group, UNESCO, the United Nations Habitat, and on all the other organizations I mentioned in the first and the second slides. And here we are covering sorry, SDG 11 and 17. Now, we have examples of heritage integrated with sustainable development. Cultural and natural heritage are connected in many heritage sites. So cultural heritage is affected sometimes under the threats of inappropriate or unsustainable development, but at the same time, it affects the development because cultural heritage, when protected and managed in optimal way, it actually makes for better sustainable development. The more you protect heritage, the more sustainable you become. The fragility, the vulnerability of heritage should be overcome. It should be supported with more funding, with policy, with awareness. Thus, sustainable development is strengthened by cultural heritage. The world will help itself if it helps the cultural heritage protection. There are certain attempts by the ICOMOS and by the UNESCO for leveraging cultural heritage as a policy tool, and they produce policy analysis and outreach documents to inform stakeholders and educate people on heritage issues and solutions. The ICOMOS, they have their guiding document, which include in 2016 concept note, and in 2017 they have action plan information on their SDG policy guidance in development, which covers SDG 4, 11, and 16. The UNESCO also have its SDG policy, which provide guidance for management of heritage sites with regard to society, economy, environment, and peace. So this is as far as heritage is concerned. Now, for scientific research in climate change, in other topics I have just referred to, the cooperation across borders for innovation solutions to promote resilience, prosperity, and competitiveness, and of course, economic and social well-being. We need to accelerate the transition of our countries, like in my country, Sudan, to innovation-led knowledge-based economies, which cannot be achieved without mushrooming the STI across socio-economic sectors, nor without addressing the challenges like the food security or access to water or energy, effective health systems, and above all, creating what we call it continental education for Africa. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, my name is Ahmed AlJaaly. I'm one of the consultants, cardiac and minimally invasive surgeons, and I'm the lead for cardiothoracic research at Imperial College Healthcare NHS Trust, one of the largest organizations within the NHS in the UK, and particularly in the center of London. People believe that I'm a pioneer cardiac surgeon, a leading healthcare innovator. I wish to believe in that, but I'm just trying. It's early stages, and we never stop learning and attempting innovations. Now, First Messenger is an application, mobile application. That's the website. You can look it up in more details. This concept was born from a need. During my research time, I came from a pure clinical background. I had no knowledge about basic science, pipettes, experiments, dry ice, and name it. It was a massive list, and actually quite strikingly frightening list for a clinical doctor in my early days. But yet I was committed and I embarked into heavy scientific experiments. I wanted to learn from experts. I wanted to collaborate with experts. And soon I realized that not only to collaborate, I needed a huge team of statisticians, epidemiologists, basic scientists, advisors, and people who have done things similar and produced some data. But it was a massive challenge at that time. I could not actually locate people within my university, Imperial College London, and I could not locate people within the UK. Forget about international, it was even a harder task. I did not at that time want to collaborate with a single party, but I needed to collaborate with a wider team. And after a few months of serious struggle, I discovered that actually there isn't a mean to allow me to reach out for expertise, to communicate with expertise in a simpler format. People are used to phone calls, emails, but those are good if you know whom you're looking for. But they're not useful at all if you're looking for an expert, but you don't know who or where. And that was the birth of my idea. I thought of adding more into the academia, the professional, the expertise life. And First Messenger was born. First Messenger is an app which I believe it's unique, meant to transform the process of finding, connecting with people, organizations in simple messaging interface, the normal messaging interface that most of us are used to in whether WhatsApp or other applications, doesn't matter, but just simple way. But at the same time, it must be extremely secure, end-to-end encrypted, with no storage for any data in local servers at any stage, because we believe professionals might be sharing sensitive data, and we're very aware of that. Now, taking this for members, it can be a simple networking system, social media, connectivity with friends, families, professionals, and organizations. And it does allow you to create groups, public groups as well as private groups. So it does tick all these boxes of what we currently look for in a messaging, social media sort of mean of communication. For organizations, however, it does add up a lot of more value to allow them to market their brands, their names, allow them to communicate and offer better customer support in intelligent connected system for all those who are involved. Allow me to take you through a small little journey, short journey. What is the app and how does it look like? If you look into the left-hand side, starting from the landing page of the system, you have a simple app, simple interface. At the bottom, you have 4 main functions in the application: searching function, messenger function, your own profile, and the settings. This is the whole application. When you go to the search function, you're able to search by name, if you know whom you're looking for, by industry, expertise, or any keyword present in any person's profile in this system. You will be able to search through it and locate some results. Otherwise, you can opt out to go for advanced search and select industry, sub-industry, and the locations, geographic locations. And that would be a little bit more interesting. All the industry and sub-industry here are created to somehow cover up all the academia, expertise, professionals sides, and the list will be expanding over time, clearly. Now, moving from the searching aspect, if you press on a search or you select add a search term, this is what you will see still within the search. You will see members with any particular search term you looked for, or businesses within the same search term you look for, or even groups if they have in their names or description that search term you've been looking for. And you will see the displayed results with people's profiles. More importantly here, this system does not show mobile numbers, does not show emails, just shows mobile, just shows people as profiles, the way they want their profile to be appearing for public. As example, here we have the profile of Prof. Allam. You just see his name, you see the basic details for him. However, if you click on his name, you will see his exact full profile that is present in the system. So you're actually viewing people, not by names only, but by expertise, specialty, and by complete profile. Next to his name, you will see a messaging function because he's already part of my connecting network. You can just communicate with him. If this person, as example, is there and he's part of the search results, you can opt out to request connectivity with this person. and so on. And the same idea for businesses. However, for businesses, you do not require or you do not need to request a connectivity approval prior to communication, because organizations are there to be contacted. And I'll explain a little bit more in the next few minutes. Okay, if we go to the messaging tab, this is exactly what you will see in your any current system that you are using for messaging communication. You will see the list of your contacts, and you will see some of the chats. You see the dates and the same interface that people are used to. However, in this system, we have designed it to allow one-to-one messaging within the tab called Conversations, and more than one messaging in the tab called Conversation Plus. More than one includes groups and organizations. Doesn't matter what groups, and it doesn't matter what organizations. For the user, you will see the groups that are public and private in the search, but in your messaging tab, you'll see the groups that you are part of them. Now, the interface of the messaging is simple, just normal chat with the normal added gadget around chat nowadays in most of the popular systems, with confirmation of receipt or read abilities. Moving further, within the same tab messenger, we have added the connections, and this is where the interesting joy comes. This is where we add privacy and control for users. We have designed a system that should hopefully be used among professionals and users who are of high caliber. We want them to have security and safety feeling. They cannot just be bombarded with endless communication. They have to have that control. And in here, you will see members' invitations and groups' invitations. Members' invitations, whether the ones have been received or the ones you have sent. None of the communication can start without accepting that invitation in the beginning. Once that acceptance happens, then that person can communicate with you freely in a simple messaging format. The groups as well is the same idea. Currently, most systems force you to be part of groups, and it's down to you to accept being part of the group later or opt out to leave groups. In here, we give you more control. You see what invitations be received and what invitations you have sent, and you have the control over that. Moving further to your personal profile, and it's your personal profile. We opted out to allow people to have their profile flexible the way they want that profile to be, with biography designed as they want. We do not pre-populate certain sectors and force you to populate certain sectors. You just write wherever you want, and anything present in your profile, whether it's part of your qualifications, workplace, or biography, can be part of the search terms people used to find you. Interestingly, in this system, because we want it to be a one-off, one-stop system used for professionals as well as for a personal usage, we have designed it to allow you to have your personal profile. And as example, I'm a surgeon, I'm a doctor, I have my own clinic as example. I can create from my settings a business profile, and that will be, as example in here, called Mr. AlJaaly Cardiac Clinic. Now, people, when they are looking for Mr. AlJaaly in the search or for the cardiac term, they will see Mr. AlJaaly as a personal profile on the left-hand side, but also they will see Mr. AlJaaly Cardiac Clinic. In the first case, they will communicate with me directly as a person. In the second case, they will communicate with my organization, my AlJaaly Cardiac Clinic. This clinic, I can craft it the way I want. It's just a live business profile. for Mr. AlJaaly, whereby there are working hours, there is biography or about us. I can add a gallery to it. More importantly, I can have auto response out of hours, so I don't get bombarded out of hours with messaging. And I can add administrators to this business. I can add 1, 2, 3 unlimited number. Each of us within this business, within this organization, are going to be receiving the message from users. One of us will respond, and that response will be appearing to all of us. So it's like a superior way of providing customer support for that clinic. So Mr. AlJaaly Cardiac Clinic, if I get communications from colleagues, patients, friends, doesn't matter. I will receive the messages. Myself, my PA, my administrators or assistants are all going to be receiving the same messages. I may, at some moment, choose to respond in person, but I may choose just to oversee what's going on, and the administrators, assistants, secretaries are going to be communicating with patients. So I am offering a superior way of communication. This is just an example. Let's say there is a university that has 10 departments. One of them is called, let's say, engineering department, architecture department. Each department would have administrators. Imagine if we say that department has 10 administrators, we create a profile in the system, and then people, instead of chasing the department with endless messaging, endless calls and emails in attempt to get an answer for a small tiny query, they just can log into the system, fire a message, and get a reply at some moment, and that transforms the whole journey and the user experience. We're hoping that the application of this can be seen as a wider application among institutions, among organizations, humanitarian, profit and non-profit organizations, to transform the process of searching for experts, connecting with experts, linking with experts, and improving outcomes. The whole civilization is built on communication, and communication is the tool for the future. And I cannot see a better way of reaching out for people from otherwise offering a simple connecting system that provides privacy, provides simplicity, and allows you to use one system for a personal use and for a professional use. The application is present in App Store, Google Play. You can check the website fastmessenger.com for a lot of details, including how to sign up, because the sign-up process needs to have authentication, and this is the only time you will need to use your personal mobile number or personal email. Beyond logging into the system first time, you don't need these details, and they're not going to be shown in public. You're always welcome to contact us, and I'm hoping that we have some friendly trials on the system, and if we can roll it out across some academic institutions, that would be our key first start. Thank you very much for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions should you have to.
Thank you so much once again, and a good day to all of you. I think all of us are in the daytime only, even from different parts. And this is our university. Our university is started in 1957, exclusively for women. Started from a school, and now we are university. Right from school till PhD doctorate we have, and this is situated in the southern part of India. And this university is exclusively for community development and women's empowerment. And as I said, of course, the extension and research apart from the academics. And I am the Deputy Dean of the School of Home Science we have 8 schools and also a professor of food science and nutrition. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, this is the topic because I'm working on recently on this research on the 3D food printing technology, how we can achieve food security. It's a very small initial step we have started, but definitely it is going to have, it will be progressing well. That is our hope. Next slide, please. So I will be focusing on the SDG goals 2, the zero hunger. The main goal of 2 is end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainability. So this is our main and promote sustainable agriculture. So our 3D food printing technology as such will be, we are targeting to achieve this SDG goal number 2. Next, please. Yeah. So just a bird's eye view of the world's top countries for food security. And we see that in the past 3 years, there is a deterioration in the global food environment, though there are many countries which are in the index scores. And you can see that, of course, our India is nowhere here, but still in our country, what exactly we are planning to do and what is the food security index. Next slide, please. And the main factors or the main causes or the reason I would say why there is a deterioration in the food security around the world, this is globally, it's because of the conflict. Recently also we saw there are a lot of wars starting from the Ukraine, Russia, and it started like that. And within the 3 years I'm talking about, and of course, the dreaded COVID-19 pandemic and climate change, which is a very gradual, but it is a very significant phenomena, which is affecting globally and the food security. And of course, there are growing inequalities. And all these put together has affected the food security worldwide because these were all converging, and ultimately the nutrition of the children as well as the health of the community has also been deteriorated because everything is focusing on the foods that are available, accessible, and affordable. Next slide, please. So these are the goal 2 targets in a nutshell. I just wanted to present here. By 2030, I think all the SDGs we focus on by 2030. So end hunger and ensure access by all people, end all forms of malnutrition, double the agricultural productivity and incomes of small-scale food producers. So some of the sustainable food production systems, the last paragraph I had given here, the sustainable food production systems only we are concentrating on the 3D food printing technology, how technology can make a way for the sustainable agriculture and improved nutrition and productivity. Next slide, please. This is again 5 elements of zero hunger. The previous slide, the same thing I had given you over here. And here, the third one is more important, adapt all food systems to eliminate loss or waste of food. So in 3D food printing technology, as I'll be telling you in the other slides, in the subsequent slides, we will never have any food waste. There will be zero waste. Even a peel or a seed, or a bark or a leaf, anything which we think that it is a food waste, that can be transformed into a 3D printed foods. Next slide, please. So this is again a diagrammatic representation, pictorial representation of the zero hunger by 2030. Next slide. Yeah, this is that arrow marks only that ensure sustainable food production systems where 3D food printing technology is part of it. Next slide. So we have an aura of foods. I would say you name anything, it is there, and all these foods can be converted into 3D printed foods with all these food ingredients. Next slide, please. So what is 3D food printing? As I said, it's a new dimension in food production. So it's actually a food production process. And as you see here in this picture, it is a layer by layer additive manufacturing. Next slide, please. It will be more clear presentation. This was started according to, in 1981, there was a prototyping machines. It started way back in 1981. And slowly it has taken different forms of generations of 3D food printers, like we have generations of computers, and still we are developing. And the last one here in 2006 was by the chocolate-based 3D printing. And of course, now we have more designs of 3D food printers, but the technology is the same. That's what I wanted to tell here. Next one. Yeah. Here, what is 3D printing? Is a three-dimensional food printing. I think the images are very clear here. It is a form of additive manufacturing technique where we can use the computer software. Nowadays, we are using even the AI. Earlier we were only using just a software, CAD software, and now we are using an AI, wherein you can see this 3D printers, where there is a nozzle here and it prints the food layer by layer, and all the designs and the colors and what ingredients have to be, that has to be developed by a food scientist or a nutritionist or an entrepreneur who will work on this 3D food printing technology, and also an engineer. Then we'll design the 3D food printer, and then using a software, we have programmed everything, including the design. For example, in the left-hand side, you can see a design. That is a 3D printed design that was developed or designed or created in the software itself. And we can include all sorts of, as I said, no food waste. Any food waste can be transformed. It can be developed into products. And then it can be fed into this 3D food printer, and through the nozzle, it can print it. So we'll have either, like for example, cookies means we need to print this, then take it to an oven, or we have an heating filament at the bottom. Or if it is something to be frozen, we print the chocolates, and then we put it in the freezer for the frozen form. Next slide, please. So the most advanced, this is actually a summary of wherever you can use 3D food printers. We can print, the customers can print their own foods using a computer, because everything is designed, the software. Even using a smartphone or any IoT device, we can develop our own recipes. So most commonly nowadays, which is available, is in cookies and pastas and chocolates. And we can customize. That is the thing we can do as per the needs of the consumer, especially when it is for a therapeutic use or for any general use, common persons also. So we can have a personalized nutrition as well as a precision nutrition over here. And I want to say here and emphasize the fact that we can attain a zero waste economy, thereby improve the food security and nutritional sustainability, because there is valorization of food waste into value-added foods. That's it. Next slide, please. So these are some of the techniques. I will skip. I'll quickly push to the next slide. Selective. There are 4 techniques which we can use. Next slide. This is a selective laser sintering, where we can use the laser technology to print the 3D foods. The picture is over there. Next slide. This is a binder jetting, where there will be a liquid binder which will disperse the liquids, and on that it will be as a layer by layer, as a powder, it will set in. Next slide. Then inkjet printing, just like any 3D, any inkjet printing what we use, the same technique is here, but instead of the ink is actually the food, what we develop. Next slide. This is the extrusion method, is a widely used method. Even we have started using this. And this uses the technique known as fused deposition modeling, where there is a hot melt extrusion process. Of course, we need a lot of technology. It is not only, as the name says, 3D food printing technology. Though we aim for food security and nutritional sustainability, the backup is the technology. So we have to judiciously use which technology, which creative, which design, or which foods have to go into the ink. The food material is the ink that we'll be feeding into the printing. Next slide, please. So these are the applications of 3D food printing in restaurants and bakeries. Whatever I've projected here are all 3D printed foods. And it will not be, actually, it looks like a high calorie food, but definitely we can plan the diet, and we can plan the calorie of fat or protein, and what should go into the food, what should not go, how we can value add to this food. So likewise, it looks like as though it is normal cakes and pastries with high calorie or no high fat foods, but definitely these are not high calorie and high fat foods. Next slide, please. So in food industries, they use it for various purposes, but ultimately in the 3D food printing technology in food industries, either it is a small industry or a large industry, it goes for zero waste. The food wastage is taken care, and that is the role of the 3D footprinting technology in reducing the wastage and helping out in food security. Next slide, please. So this is some of the 3D printed foods you can see. This the Singapore only has started all this. They had printed all these foods, making I mean, that is a carrot puree, and this is a garden pea, and they have made it into a 3D printed foods where it is more consumable, more affordable, more acceptable by the people. Next slide, please. In hospitals, this is also a very important thing. For people with celiac disease or elderly population, we are also concentrating on the elderly population now, and we are working on crackers and pancakes for elderly with using 3D printed foods, and difficulty in swallowing all this, and we can tailor the diet for the elderly. Next slide, please. Here, this is another thing I think they have done again in Singapore. You can print the meals for patients using the 3D printing technology. Next slide. So again, for space exploration in an International Space Station, they have used 3D footprinting, and it has its own benefits when it is used in the space. Next slide, please. So in India, what have we done is in Tanjore, that is also in South India, there is a National Institute for Food Technology. There they had developed a first 3D food printer, and there they had printed 3D printing cookies. Here, this is a millet, because millets are actually, that is also a topic I usually talk about. That's my topic, which is very close to my heart, is for the heart is sustainable agriculture, where I usually talk on millets. So in 3D footprinting technology, actually, we have converged the millets, which are actually the staple crops of Africa and India right from many years, 2500 BC. But now, because of the other wheat and rice coming into, people forgot that, and now the degenerative diseases have increased. Now again, people have gone back to millets, thanks to the UN for the announcing this year, which is going to end as the International Year of Millets. So in India, they have developed a 3D printed, that is a 3D printed cookies using millets, a pulse, that is a green gram, and a fried gram is actually a legume of pulse because of the protein, and some ajwain seeds, it gives some flavor and some digestive properties we have. And this particular snack had high protein and fiber content. It is still in the research. It has not come to the market. Next slide, please. This is one we had fabricated for an infant, for an edible teether using millets. Next slide, please. You can see this, how we had developed this year. We have done this, and we have developed this edible teethers. This is how we use the technology. This is a PG student who has done it with my guidance, and how we created the designs in the software, and then we prepared the food in our foods lab as per the nutrient density and the requirements, and then we fed it into the 3D food printer and we developed the foods. Next slide, please. So this is the working model of the fusion deposit modeling 3D food printer. That's what we use, and this is the edible teether for infants. This includes some extracts, for vitamins from fruit extracts. So now we are working on some fruit peel, like pomegranate peel, which is very known as a food waste. Also, any peel we take. So all these peels which we throw out, that we are making into a 3D printed. We are including that as part of a 3D printed food, and that's what I said, zero waste. Next slide, please. So as to summarize the 3D food printing technology to achieve food security and nutritional sustainability, as it has got a socioeconomic impact, a commercialization and marketing potential, and health aspect, because we can include what we need, as nutritionists and food scientists or dietitians. We can plan the meal, and for example, for millets or fiber rich, we can improve the gut microbiota also. We can include whatever we want. And also for the environmental and safety aspect, it is very helpful for a sustainable drainage system. And it is 100% natural and eco-friendly. Next slide, please. So 3D food printing, to conclude, it's a new and innovative field, but still it is picking up, and sustainable food technology we are using, and it creates also opportunities for technological platforms. They are very, very useful for providing nutritional sustainability and food security, and ultimately for the community development and for the health of the global health. Next slide. So this is our ongoing research. We have started this with Kodo millet, one type of millet. Next slide, please. Yeah, so do we really need to take this uncertain work, because we don't know where it is going to land, but we have confidence that 3D printed foods will definitely be, in fact, I would say that just like an oven or a stove, a 3D food printer will be in each home. Next slide, please. So do we really need to take? Yes, considering that this has been the path of nutrition recommendations, we must go ahead with this technology. Next slide, please. I acknowledge my scholars, PhD scholars, for helping me out in this, and also the research, what they're doing. Next slide. And thank you so much. And you can see all the 3D printed foods. Of course, those white ones, that was biopolymers, which we developed first before going for the edible tether. Thank you.
Good morning, Allam. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues, because I know we are operating simultaneously from several time zones. I must say that I have thoroughly enjoyed the presentations that preceded mine. It really does show the breadth and depth of the work that WASD has been able to do with its collaborators and stakeholders, so congratulations. My role this morning is to share with you an exciting opportunity regarding the special issue of the World Journal of Science, Technology, and Sustainable Development, which, as many of you will know, is a publication of WASD, one of our very path-breaking, highly cited publications. But my purpose this morning is to indicate that in the coming months, we will be producing a special edition of that journal with the title Soulful Bites, Humanizing the Digital Revolution, for a Sustainable Tomorrow. And we invite female researchers, no offense intended. When Allam and I brainstormed this a couple of weeks ago, the intention was really to get a publication out to coincide with International Women's Day next year, March 8th. And having done this over the past 20 years, we realize we have such talented female academics, practitioners, politicians like Allam indicated, policymakers who in their respective fields have been able to demonstrate how we can leverage digital technologies to address various societal ills, enhance our social and economic well-being, etc. So we do invite female researchers, academics, policymakers, legislators, and practitioners to contribute to this special edition of the peer-reviewed journal, World Journal of Science, Technology, and Sustainable Development, under the theme Soulful Bites, Humanizing Digital Transformation for a Sustainable Tomorrow. In WASD, we remain true to our commitment to do our part to help meet the various obligations or benchmarks as defined within the various SDGs. The sub-themes for that special edition include 1, ethical frameworks in the digital age. And here we're hoping that authors can propose ethical considerations and frameworks for technologies prioritizing human rights. Just recently on December 10th, the world commemorated Human Rights Day. So it will be interesting to examine the intersection between digital transformation and human rights. The second, inclusive design and accessibility, explores strategies for creating universally accessible digital solutions addressing diverse needs. And when we say diverse needs, we mean ethnic, phenotypical, economic, geographic, gender. All of those variables somehow interfere with the level of access we have to the emerging technologies. 3, sociocultural impact of digital innovations. Investigate digital transformation's influence on culture, social structros, indigenous knowledge, cultural knowledge, and community relationships. The fourth sub-theme, empowering women in the digital era. Analyze the role of technology in advancing gender equality. We have just concluded 16 days of activism to raise awareness for the level of domestic violence meted against girls and women. And how can we therefore use technology to help cure some of those issues that are of grave concern to us? The fifth sub-theme, policy perspectives on human-centric technology. We are concerned about the extent to which technology is perceived to be dehumanizing us as beings, as workers. So we examine policymaking for ethical technology, ensuring that innovation aligns with human values. The sixth theme, community engagement and digital citizenship, very topical. And here we're hoping that authors can highlight the importance of community involvement in decision-making and responsible digital citizenship. The seventh sub-theme, legal dimensions and digital transformation. Very topical, especially within the context of all of this conversation around AI and what it means. So here we explore legal aspects related to digital ethics, focusing on issues such as cyberbullying and revenge pornography, address the challenges, propose legal frameworks, and share case studies on ensuring a legal environment that protects individuals in the digital realm. The eighth sub-theme, digital technology in higher education. Very topical. In the last year, WAS has hosted quite a few symposia addressing the issue of the role of higher education, in the digital age, and what role we can see for higher education institutions in advancing the SDGs. But here in particular, we investigate the transformative impact of digital technology on higher education, share insights on innovative teaching methods. We had our experience with the pandemic. We learned a lot. How can we better leverage digital learning platforms and the evolving role of technology in shaping the future landscape of academia? The ninth theme looks at the orange economy and the intersection between digital technology and the orange economy. We do something similarly in the 10th sub-theme, digital transformation and climate change. At 11, transformational sustainable tourism, which speaks for itself in terms of the context of digital transformation and the sustainable tourism and how these two intersect and how we can leverage a technology. We just heard a very interesting presentation on health and technology, and that's the kind of discussion we hope will ensue in that sub-theme. And the last, being AI and digital poverty. Examine the role of AI in reinforcing global disparities, resulting in a new form of digital poverty. Investigate how AI contributes to demarcations between the digitally affluent and the digitally disadvantaged, and proposing strategies for mitigating these effects. Of course, I will be the special editor. Allam has told you a little bit about me. The various deadlines include, and of course, through our WASD network, we will share that information with you. But by January 30th, we hope to have received all of the abstracts. The papers we expect to receive no later than April 30th. The deadline for the revised submissions, June 10th, and the final publication date, July 30th. But you can tell from these dates that by March 8th, we will have enough material that we can host a symposia either on the 8th of March or thereabout, or upon the conclusion of the final publication. Either way, the intention is to bring, and we have among our colleagues a global community of women who have done extensive and in some respects path-breaking work on the role and impact of technology in their respective fields. And more recently, they have interrogated the implications of new and emerging technologies. Some of these women, off the top of my head, in the areas of gender, we have Dr. Natasha Motley from Mona Campus, Michelle Marius, Kim Malalieu, among the thought leaders on ICTs in the Caribbean. Jillian Marcel, who through her work continues to showcase how technologies can be leveraged in various realms, more recently focusing on resilient capital ventures. Yamida Dagnett, climate finance and climate justice. Dr. Dinah Hippolyte-Blake in Australia, and who's done extensive work in Canada as well. Lisa Dublin and Pamela Leos, who are authors, coaches, well-published, leveraging the technology to transform lives, to develop human capacity in their respective fields. Professor Lai Fan, who is the chair in technology and social change at the University of Waterloo in Canada. In the UK, we have Ellen Elbser from Oxford, who was one of the early researchers and pioneers in the critical area of digital inequalities. Kim Lubin, who is a well-published AI scholar and tech humanist based at Waterloo University in Canada, and many, many others. But the point is, we really want to encourage the amazing female academics, policymakers. I met some fantastic women, Allam, when I was in the UK with you last month, out of Vodafone, for example, the NHS system, again, showing how important technology is to transforming life, but of course, guarding against some of the inherent or inadvertent dangers. I thank you for this opportunity. And I'm sure when the flyer goes out, Allam will be flooded with all kinds of submissions, but thank goodness we are known for publishing path-breaking work, well-researched work, and because it is a peer-reviewed journal, it is highly competitive, and I'm sure the output will be nothing less than excellent. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. So, dear all the listeners and as well as the people who can see me, I'm really grateful to Dr. Allam and for this platform provided to me to share the women empowerment and the SDGs perspective from the Pakistan and the Pakistani women with all of you. So it's just a research that I conducted with the women that the women's point of view that where they are standing, but the study was emphasizing on the SDGs, one among the 17 goals, which is the goal 5, that achieving gender equality and empower all women and girls. So one target of this, sorry, Dr. Allam, I wouldn't be able to move the slide. So you just
Can you see the slide as I move them?
Yeah, you can keep on, because I'm just looking towards my laptop right now.
Yes,
so I'm
just tell me when you want to move and I will move it, okay?
Okay, so you can move and you can go to the next.
Yeah, introduction is in front of you. You go ahead.
No, you just move that.
Okay.
To the background, yes. So this is one among the 17 goals of the SDGs, which is the goal 5. And the one target of this goal 5 is that which is going to ensure women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of decision making in political, economic, and public life. So I just tried to explore these aspects of the SDG goal 5, along with the globalization influence in Pakistan, because globalization is impacting the women in Pakistan in all these 3 domains of the political sphere, in the economic sphere, and in the socio-cultural sphere. So I tried to link that world openness linking with the SDGs goals, and just try to explore that how this openness towards the world and how this globalization is impacting the women in all these spheres of their life. So globalization, actually, it's a very diverse phenomena. And if we are looking towards the women empowerment, equally the both, so we just try to explore that whether, because globalization and this world openness is not influencing the world equally, not influencing all the regions actually equally. So at some places of the world, they are having the very pragmatic influences, very positive influences. At some areas, having the very negative, adverse consequences, and in some areas, they are not having yet as such influence. So if you just move on, if you look into the introduction, so if we look into the developing countries like Pakistan, so still the countries like Pakistan not able to get all the positive and all the beneficial influences of this world openness, of this world connectedness that we are, and across the globe, that through the SDGs we are trying to be connected with the world. So if we just look at and understanding, the next slide, please, understanding the linkages between the globalization and empowerment. So we just try to explore with all these 3 domains. I'm just skipping the significance. It is very much important, no doubt. But if I will just go to the statement of the problem, Professor. So it is just emphasizing that how we can ensure the women full participation and effective participation in all the domains of the politics and all the domains of the economics and the public sphere. So this study has focused on the analysis of all these various dimensions of the globalization and linking that with the women empowerment and with the women's situation in the Pakistan. So that was the objectives as well. And if I just go to the summary of the methodology, Professor, the summary of the methodology. So that was the qualitative research. The next slide, please. The summary of the methodology. If you just move on few of the slides, because I made it the very comprehensive detailed presentation, so would be available to all the all the audience who have any interest. So I will just summarize over here. And if you just look at that, so I just tried to cover up all the areas of the Pakistan. So Pakistan is comprising of all its 4 provinces, along with the AJK and the Gilgit-Baltistan. So we tried to get the point of view of those people that who are those specific stakeholders who have might be they are the politicians or the academicians or the journalists, because they are going to make the point of view. They are the people who are giving you the policies. They are let's suppose, like if I take the example of the academia, so they are making the minds of the youth. in the Pakistan. So I thought that they are the most important stakeholders, because if I look at to the politicians, they have influence in the decision making, in the policy making. The journalists, they are giving the vision of the world to the people in the Pakistan, and academia, they are directly linked and they are disseminating those ideas and concepts. So keeping all these three important stakeholders, I wanted to know that how they are perceiving these SDGs, how they are looking towards the women's status in Pakistan, and how they are thinking that they can put a dent and bring some sort of empowerment for the women in the country. So these were 26 respondents from all these three areas, like of the academia and the politicians and the journalists. So I just conducted the in-depth interviews with them, and by applying the thematic analysis, I come up with few of the major themes. So if you just look at to the major themes, sir, so here there are 4 major themes. The next, please. Does higher education and employment opportunities empowering Pakistani women? If you look at the global political scenario, so Pakistani government and the global political scenario, so is there any space for the women to come into the politics in Pakistan? And if we look at the cultural globalization, that how through technologies and how through media it is influencing across the globe. So does it has any impact on the women's social empowerment, on the women standing at the socio-cultural domain? So these were the 4 major areas that I tried to emphasize, because when we are talking about the higher level of education and the employment opportunities, so they can at least empower the women at the individual level, at the family level, and if you are earning person, so it can give you the financial and the economic empowerment as well. And the same it was the case for the political and the cultural domains. I will skip the reflexivity of mine, because I'm belonging from such an area in the Pakistan that not very much developed. But if a woman like me who got the education, who come into the job, and who are earning to some extent a handsome amount, so I'm feeling myself somewhere like, okay, fine, I'm empowered, but empowerment is such a complex phenomena that if I'm earning, but if I'm not able to spend that money by my own, if I'm not able to take a decision that whether if I want to buy some property, or if I want to buy a car, and if I want to buy, invest that income that I'm earning, so whether you call me the empowered one or not. So just by simply getting the education or getting the employment opportunity it is not being sure that, okay, fine, a woman in a country like Pakistan is empowered or not. However, it has different stages. However, it has different like steps. Might be to get a higher level of education and the employment opportunity. It is the base. It is going to provide a base for the empowerment. It is providing the base for a better status a woman can acquire. But if it even I can give you the example at the political domain. So mostly women are coming through quota system. So they are already the women of the influential families. And if they get chance to come into the politics, so they are just like, a cosmetic appearance might be they are having, but they are not taken to be considered into the decision-making process, even at the policy level, when we are talking about the parliament and we are talking about the government level. But no doubt, this connection with the world, this openness with the world has changed the scenario for the women in Pakistan. We can't say like 10 years back, the 15 years back, what was the situation in Pakistan is same right now. No, this world openness is putting a dent. So that was the objective of this research, that I wanted to know that till which level the change have been experiencing, and by all these policy makers, decision makers, and where they are thinking, because it is very much important. If being a woman, what I'm thinking is something else, but the people who are sitting over there at the decision making levels, so how they are perceiving, whether they are they would love to bring any sort of change for the women in the country or not. So if I just look at the synthesis of the major findings, sir, can you go to the second objective of mine? The next, please. Move on, please. Yes. So if you just look at this, that I wanted to know that how, if the world is giving you the opportunities, if the world is there for you, so whether you are in the position to get that influence, that benefit from the openness or not. So if the two type of responses I got from the pragmatic point of view, no doubt this world openness has brought about changes in the lives of Pakistani women in many ways, such as like their role in decision making has been improved, control on and increase in the financial resources have been experienced, can be observable. Social protection of the women, particularly, there are so many new laws has been introduced in the Pakistan specifically for violence against women, and the workplace protection have been provided to them. So access to the women and other resources like of the healthcare has been improved, because we are living in a country where women is not considered to go even to the doctor if there is no male member along with her. So sort of situation has been improved, but let me make it clear here that all these improvements can be observable, can be visible in the urban areas, not in the rural areas. And still for the women, there is a long way to go. So their visibility in the parliament, you might be observed even from the last election that we contested in the 2018. So it was ensured that if in any constituency, if there would not be a specific number of women contestant, so the election couldn't be contested in that specific constituencies. So that was the reason that we can see a reasonable number of women in the parliament, in the paid job sectors, in the higher education in the recent past. But this is the one aspect that my respondents shared with me, that okay, fine, and we call it the pragmatic view, but findings regarding the ineffective consequences of globalization for women reveals that globalization is a double-edged sword for women, isn't it? Because of the male migration flow towards the urban areas, put the women under triple burden of homemaking, farming, and jobs in the rural sector. Also, the situation is not that much pragmatic and positive for the working class women who move to the cities for work, often face exploitation, because empowerment is not equal and same for all cadre classes, for all classes women in Pakistan, So if the women of the elite class having the empowerment level different, the women of the working class having their own situation and circumstances, and the women of the lower class having the different situation. So we can say that your class, your social class, your regional division like of the rural, urban, and as well as the social setup and structure of the Pakistan, which is mostly influenced by the feudal system, by the tribal system. So these are all the things that we should consider whenever we are talking about the women empowerment, whenever we are talking about the women's status in Pakistani context. So until or unless if we will not be looking towards all these background indicators, we would never be understand, and we would never be able to achieve those SDGs targets, those SDGs goals, if we not link them with the institutional, with the cultural setup in the Pakistani context. So similarly, the rural-urban migration is weakening the traditional ties of the different institutions, specifically of the family unit. So no doubt, openness to the world and coming into the higher education, coming into the job is one good aspect for the women, but at the other end, our family institution is becoming breaking up. The divorce rate is increasing day by day, and as well as the media representation, the cliche women representation by the media is also derailing women image so falsely in the present area. So on the very adverse side, we can say that competitive work environment, male political domination, and social divergence have harmful consequences for women in the Pakistan. So we can conclude, if we just look at that, how this world openness and the women empowerment can be related. So we can say that the financial contribution from women towards their family is putting a dent on our orthodox social system. So our politics and the government, which previously had a rigid and controversial presentation, now has a soft image because of the women involvement in this domain to the world. Because previously, if you just look at that, women were not visible in the political domain, but now they are having, just because of this connectedness with the world, that they are emphasizing that there should be women, because half of the Pakistan population is based on the women. So if you will just exclude them from all these important domains of the politics and of the economy, so how can you ensure the sustainable development of the nation? How could you ensure the any implementation of the sustainable development goals in a country like Pakistan? So access to information and awareness has put its impact on the women's life here in Pakistan, that slowly, gradually, the gender roles have been changing. So another important, if you just move to the next slide, another important objective of this research was that what are those specific hurdles that the women are facing and how can we overcome that? So among them, we come up with this thing that the patriarchal mindset is the root cause. If you are talking about the SDGs, if you are talking about to bring any change in the women's status, if you're talking about the gender equality, if you're talking about the women empowerment, for all these things, to put a dent on the patriarchal mindset is very, very important. Because the material change is easy, but the idealistic and the mental change and the change in the norms and the values is such a challenging thing. So it is very much important, and it is the major root cause that why we are not able to get full benefit of this world openness, of this globalization. So discriminatory values attached with the gender, with the age, with the caste, and with the ethnicity, causing a hurdle for the to bring any change in the women's life. Political domain is a big debate with reference to the women. Nationalistic economy. So measures need to be taken at the individual level, at the family level, at the social level to empower Pakistani women. So changes in the, if we are talking about at the family and the individual level, so changes in the socialization patterns is very much needed, unless or until because the change starts from the home. It begins from the family. So unless or until if we will be coming up with this divide of the boy and the girl, we can't expect any sort of, we can never talk of the gender equality. So socialization patterns need to be focused, self-recognition by the women. Because if you look into the Pakistan, so even I found during this conversation with all these stakeholders that even the women are not ready to bring any change in their lives. They still love to be dependent on the men, and they are not ready to take a step, to take a initiative that okay, fine, we need to change. So that is another reason. So, and it is equally the suggestion that self-recognition is important. So we need to engage our men as well to provide them the better education, provide them with the better health care system, and ensuring equality for them in all spheres of life will go a long way to transform the Pakistani society at the global scenario. So enhance women voice at the government level. They should come via election rather than the quota system, because if they will come through proper election, so they will be more confident and they can raise their voices and they can make some sort of policies for the women. But if they will be keep on coming via quota system, and if they will be keep on coming only from the elite class, so might be they will be set aside, and still the politics, the government will be dominated by the men. So they need to be skilled as per today's requirements so they can effectively play their role in the country's development. So when I'm talking about that they need to be skilled as per today's requirement, means that where the world is going, so we need to be educate our women according to those requirements. So if they will be skilled, educated women, so they will be more in a better position to play their role in the active economy. They will be more in a better position to play their role in the politics, and they will be in a better position to play their role in the family's decisions as well. So these were few of the major findings. At the end, I will just there are so many different contributions of this study to the knowledge, to the methodologies and all these things. I'm just skipping that, but the study concludes. So if you can just go to the study conclusion. So this, the next please. So this study concludes in the light of the findings that it has been concluded that globalization is a social change process that has spread almost all the aspects of the society due to its variant components of the political, economic, and socio-cultural. So the current study findings are in line with the theoretical assumptions of the globalization variant perspectives with reference to the positive, negative, and feeble influences on societies like Pakistan. So in the Pakistan, no doubt it is putting its dents, but still the pace is quite slow. To bring it more effective, so there are certain recommendations. The next slide, please. So just on the basis of that, the next slide, please. There are certain recommendations that women can join any field, and they are rising now in every field of life in Pakistan, and their contributions will, if they remain intact to their own roots, and just not merely if they will be following the modernization, because the women suffered a lot. As I shared that because of the higher education and coming into the economic domain and becoming financially independent, the divorce rate became very high in Pakistan. And the people are linking that high divorce rate and breaking up of the families with the women's higher education and their economic independence. So it is just recommended that if they will remain attached to their roots, if they will be attached with their family system, and they are getting education and they are contributing in the economy, so might be the situation will be changed, because we need the women role models from our own society. At times, the westernization, the modernization model is becoming ineffective when it comes to the culture, when it comes to the, your own religion, when it comes to your own norms and values. So it is very much important that you take the positive things from the West, that you take the good things from them, but just be in your own context. So when you just put your context aside and you are just merely following all these streams, so it will create hurdles for the other women. So it is very much important that we should have role models from our own society to present to the masses that, look at, if you just send your daughters to the schools, if you will allow your sisters and daughters to the jobs, it is not something bad. It will be not ruining your family structure. It will be not challenging your culture. So empowered women role models are needed. So there is still lacking conscious efforts for women empowerment to at the legislation level, and we should emphasize on that. So at the higher education level, there must be such sort of internship opportunities or the practical skill-based education for the young women, so they can get equal chance along with the males, so they can more effectively contribute in the country's economy, in the country's sustainable development. So these are the few of the recommendations, and that's it, because I already just get connect with you too late, and I'm again so sorry for that. So that's why I just squeezed my interaction, because just lack of the time. So if there is any question or anything, I'm just here, I can answer.